It was designed to be worked on by people who don't care about a labor rate. There's an entire section of the electronics in this electrical manual that comes with the workshop manual that is theoretical wiring. I'm not making that up. Go to look in your 6000 series Bentley workshop manual and you'll find a theoretical wiring section.
Theoretical wiring.
Theoretical wire.
Yeah. Does the wiring exist in theory? Is that the notion here with the British wiring, that in theory, yes, it's wiring?
Yeah, it exists within a superimposed state dependent on the observation of the particle. Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's really Schrodinger's wiring at a certain point.
From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show with Matt West.
Oh man, such a packed show for you today. I know I start the show by saying, yeah, we got a packed show. I mean, every show is packed, but this one really, we got so much stuff going on. This is really embodying the notion of automotive ADHD here. So coming up in the next segment, I have Tommy Bristol. His name might sound familiar to you because he is the owner of the R32 Skyline GTR that was stolen back in December. If you've listened to the show for a little while, you will recognize the story. His GTR was stolen, then the car community came together and helped him find it. And the story wasn't quite over there yet. He didn't actually, yes, they found the car, but the car was in police custody. They were investigating it, trying to find the guy, and he wasn't able to get the car back right away. And there's all this stuff going on. And now we have a really cool update, fresh off the press, and I can't wait to share that with you. Tommy's going to join me in the next segment of the show. And then in the third half, is that how that works? 3 halves? You can have 3 halves of a show. On this show, you can have that. Wesley Kagan, YouTuber extraordinaire, engineering nerd, car guy, whatever you want to call him. I'm pretty sure his job title actually changes every time I have him on the show. So I can't keep track of it, but he's a busy guy, and he just bought the most expensive car in the world from 1993. And spoilers, it has depreciated significantly. I mean, like a lot, like a whole lot. And even in its heavily depreciated state, it still doesn't make financial sense. So we're going to talk directly with Wesley. He's going to tell us all about this crazy, kooky idea of his and how it's going so far. And which, by the way, may not be going as well as it could be. But then again, it might actually be going better than you would think, considering that it's the most expensive car in the world from 1993. And it's worth a fraction of its original price. Anyway, we're going to get to all of that, some of your car sounds, and more on this edition of the show. How exciting is that? We got so much stuff going on today. This is why you tune into the Automotive ADHD show. And now, I recently have been, and I wanted to touch on this real quick. I have been selling, can you believe this? I have been selling some of my fleet. I'm paring the fleet down from, I want to get from a comfortable 8 cars to a nice and cozy, like 5, maybe 6 cars. Maybe 5 if all 5 actually run. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable expectation. I'm trying to simplify my life a little bit. So I've listed a few things for sale. And I have to say, I've sold a number of cars over the years. I have. And I think that, especially on Facebook Marketplace, I don't really know what has changed, but I feel like things have changed. Maybe if you've sold cars, maybe if you really sold anything on Facebook Marketplace. This is kind of a gripe about Facebook Marketplace because I feel like it's not the same as it used to be in terms of the quality of the buyer, really, that shows up. Like, yeah, I know if you're doing Facebook Marketplace deals, you can probably expect to be ghosted by about 50% of the people who say they're going to show up and look at your car. The problem is, I feel like that's gotten worse. I feel like that's gotten significantly worse. And what has also gotten significantly worse is the number of people, or I won't even call them people because they're bots, they're robots, they're scammers, they're fake. That has really gone up in the past, I would say 2 or 3 years, especially after COVID now. I feel like that's happened. I don't know if it's because of the prevalence of AI. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of bots. Facebook Marketplace is becoming a more and more challenging place to sell a car. And you're probably saying, well, gee, Matt, of course it's a challenging place to sell a car. I know. But generally that's how I come and go with all these different cars. I mean, you know this, right? I mean, if you're a car guy like me, you've been sitting there late at night, laying in bed on your phone, probably well after you should have gone to sleep to get a whole solid 8 hours of sleep, which that's pretty optimistic. I mean, even 6 hours. But anyway, you're on your phone and you're browsing stuff and you're messaging people at 2 a.m. Hey, can I pick this up in the morning? I got cash, whatever. Will you take a trade for this? Right. We've all been there. Either that, or maybe you do browse Facebook Marketplace, but in the bathroom. I don't know. But I do know that Jim Miller, by the way, of course, a regular co-host of this show, he sends me car memes, specifically Subaru memes still. He has never stopped sending me Subaru memes. He probably will never stop sending me Subaru memes, at least until I sell my Subaru. And even then, he'll probably still send me Subaru memes. I know he's in the bathroom, probably sitting on the toilet, because he's sending me Subaru memes. That's really the only time he does it. So I digress. I mean, that's, whatever you're doing when you're browsing Marketplace. I feel like, and maybe you can attest to this, I'm reaching out to you, the listener. If you want to chime in on the Facebook page, on the YouTube comments of this, I kind of want to know your thoughts on, has it changed? Is it just me, or has it become more challenging between the scams, and even just, I think a lot of, and I won't say which cars I've had listed for sale, but I'll give you an example. One of them has 4-wheel drive, and that's the first thing in my listing. Okay, it's 4-wheel drive, clean title, has diff lockers and other stuff. It says that. And I will get people, an inordinate amount of people. And again, I wonder if I don't even know if they're real people. I'll get a text off of Marketplace, a messenger message, right? And it will say, is it 4-wheel drive? ? What do you think? What do you think? Is it 4-wheel drive? That's the first thing in the description if you read it. And then I'll get another one. Does it have a clean title? Do you have eyes? Did you read? Did you read the description? Are you Stevie Wonder and you can't read the description? And if that's the case, should you really be purchasing an automobile? I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. And I feel like, yes, I know you're going to get some of that, but it has gone up significantly. See, I used to buy and trade and do all sorts of stuff for a lot of things. And granted, I still do, but I feel like I've calmed down a little bit. I'm kind of hanging on to stuff a little bit longer, or I'm getting that far into a project where it's not really sellable in the state that it's currently in. So what's the point? Might as well just keep it. But I feel like that's been happening a lot. Another thing that's been happening a lot too, I get a ton of messages in Spanish. A ton of them in Spanish, like a disproportionate number. Like my phone was getting flooded with Spanish messages. And for a little bit, I was trying to, Google Translate them. And it's like, what's your lowest offer? What's your lowest price? I don't know. Make me an offer and I'll tell you yes or no. And also it's probably like what I'm asking minus $500. That's probably my lowest price. Not to give you any deep insight into my completely strategic way of listing things on Marketplace, but I'm getting these messages in Spanish and I'm trying to translate and I'm trying to do this. And I got to a point where I stopped because I said, look, the listing is in English. And if you can't be bothered to go to Google Translate yourself and ask the question through Google Translate, copy that and then send it to me, why should I be the one having to translate it after the fact? I shouldn't be. That's exactly the point, is I shouldn't be. And that to me, I don't know. I'm just saying that. Let me put it this way: like if I was trying to buy a car, for one, I also wouldn't use the default. Hi, is this still available? Like the default message that Marketplace gives you on, like when you click on a listing, it gives you like a default message. I've completely stopped replying to those. If I get a default message, boom, goes straight into the junk. You might actually be a cash buyer. I might be completely throwing out a cash buyer who would show up, in the next hour to buy that car. But you get so many of these, you get saturated with it. And then I also run into a weird issue. If you list a car too cheaply, like some of my cars, they're $500. Well, that's even being optimistic. You get the weirdest people who show up. So I don't know. A little bit of a rant right there, but that was just something that is kind of on my chest. I've been trying to sell stuff. It's been harder. What do you think? Has it actually gotten harder? Am I just losing my mind? Has it always been this way? Let me know on the Facebook page. Let me know on YouTube. Check it out in the comments. Hey, we're going to be right back with Tommy Bristol talking about his Skyline after the break.
Bristol's pride and joy was gone in just a matter of minutes, but he knew he could not give up that easily. He took to social media, where his posts spread like wildfire from Denver all the way down to Colorado Springs.
It got a lot of attention pretty quickly. For the same reason that I think someone would target that car to steal is the same reason that these communities kind of came together and really were very energetic and active about locating it.
Now, that news story you heard, you may recognize from a few months ago on this show. And this story ended up making a bunch of headlines. And after we ran it here on the show, it went to The Drive, Jalopnik, The Autopian, and more. And this really made it around. And I am happy to provide some closure. If you wanted an update on this, if you were thinking, what happened to that Skyline that got stolen? Well, there's good news. And the owner of that Skyline is joining me once again on the show. Tommy Bristol, welcome back to Automotive ADHD.
Hey, man, how you doing? Good to be back.
Really glad to have you back. Glad to have you back, especially under some better circumstances. And so previously, and this was back, where were we in? I think December. Does that sound right?
Yeah, December. Yes, December is when, I remember who we had the call.
Yeah, and so real quick, before we talk about the news you have now, give me a little bit of a recap of what happened in case listeners are just joining us now, because what happened to you, unfortunately, happens to a lot of people, but what doesn't always happen is getting the car back, and that's what makes this really fascinating.
Yeah, for sure. So, back in December, I was woken up at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning from my neighbors who had heard a huge crash or multiple huge crashes. And turns out that a man had driven a car through the garage door of our building, like collective garage for everybody, driven a car, a Subaru actually, through the door, torn the entire garage door off, and then hot-wired and stolen my 1993 Skyline GTR.
Wow. And your Skyline, give me some background again on that in case people are hearing this for the first time.
Yeah. So it was just a car that I had kind of always been curious about, and I got a raise at work, and I decided to make a purchase. I found a website that had some pictures of a good car. I made a purchase pretty much sight unseen, but I saw some good photos, and I felt pretty confident. I transferred over some money, and I went through about 6 months of logistics and government and bureaucracy, and I got the car shipped over. I drove it back from LA, and I did a lot of work to try to restore it and get it fixed up, and it's been quite a journey ever since then. That was in 2018 is when I got it. I got it right when it became legal, and then I drove it over, and I've been kind of doing work on it ever since, fixing little things here and there, and then it got to a place where I was really happy with it. And then, of course, as soon as I'm really happy with it, someone decides they have better ideas for it. So,
see, this is why you never finish projects, right? And just leave them always unfinished.
Yeah, it feels that way. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. And for people not in the know, the Skyline GTR, it's a JDM car, Japanese domestic market. And you mentioned when it was finally legal. That's because we have this 25-year import rule on cars that were never originally sold in the United States market, much like the GTR. And, and in your case, the GTR, it's not the, GTST. It's not one of the, that's the GTR. That's the one people really want. That's the special one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the one that's like, it's got the engine that's built for racing. That's what the R is for, right? It's got 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering, twin turbo, all the highest technology that Nissan could muster back in the late 80s, early 90s was on this car. So it's become one of the earliest examples of what they call like a halo car from Japan. Every manufacturer had their car or a couple cars that were really sought after, really technologically advanced, kind of their flagship. And this is the one from Nissan throughout the entire 90s was the Skyline GTR.
Yeah, and that's why, and it's such a cool car to have, such a special car to own. And I think, now people are a little more used to seeing them, but especially with you bringing it in right when it became legal and all of that. Now, the car was stolen, and the thing that we talked about on the show last time was that you actually had seen the car. Like, there was this big hunt for the car. I mean, the internet, especially the different Facebook groups, the car spotter groups, all the local ones here in Colorado. I mean, these guys came in and they started giving you updates of like people who were spotting the car. What was that like?
That was crazy. At first I was pretty, I guess, just really torn up and kind of feeling like crap about the car being stolen. And I was kind of not really wanting to engage. But a friend of mine convinced me to let her post pictures and the story on one of the car spotter groups and the Cars and Coffee groups on Facebook. And almost immediately it started getting traction. People posting photos that they had taken of it, not even knowing that it was stolen, just seeing a Skyline and taking photos. And then they get on the group and they see that, oh, that was a stolen car. And they're posting photos and videos, and everyone who had seen it was updating me with where they had seen it, when they had seen it. It got to a point where I was getting, regular updates on where this car was. Every 30 minutes to an hour, people were like, oh, I saw it here. I saw it here. So I ended up having a pretty good record of where it was. It had a few repeat sightings, and I was trying to get in touch with the police down there in Colorado Springs. And you know how police can be sometimes with car thefts. They get there's a million car thefts a day, and they don't think any car is more important than another. And they just say, well, if he speeds and gets pulled over, maybe we'll catch him. Or if he abandons it, maybe we'll find it. And I said, that's not good enough. So I got really mad, especially after watching the security camera footage of him smashing through the garage door and walking to my car with his, ski mask on. I just got kind of angry, and I was like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to look for this car, and I'm going to disconnect the battery, or I have the key. Maybe I can, maybe I can take it back myself. Who knows?
Right. Take a justice into your own hands, basically, right?
Yeah. Maybe it was a silly idea, but I was in that moment, I kind of was overcome with the emotion of it. So I went down there, I drove around for about an hour, made contact with someone else from one of the Facebook groups who had a tow truck. They were driving around in some places looking with me. And I eventually saw it turn off of one street onto the street going the opposite direction that I was on. And I saw it. And I was shocked. I was speechless and I was stunned. And I was like, maybe I can follow it. So I tried to make a U-turn. There was a big median. I was driving my SUV, so I hopped the median and sped after it, but it was too late. By then he had already, gone up. And these big streets, there's a ton of traffic, lots of red lights. It was kind of devastating to see it and then lose it. I almost wish I had never seen it at all. And I was pretty devastated. And then that night on the way home, my same friend convinced me to call the local news, let them know, since the police weren't doing anything. And then kind of the rest is what you know, right? The news picked it up. You got wind of it. I ended up talking with you about it. And then that story got picked up everywhere. So yeah, that was a big deal. And then one last interesting part is right after that event, when I got home and I called the news and everything, I got a call from the El Paso County Sheriff's Department telling me that they had recovered the vehicle that same night. It had been left somewhere, they found it, and they recovered it. So that started the journey into where we are now, where I had to get it back, and we're waiting to find out who actually stole it.
Right. And that's where we can come in now. So people are caught up, completely caught up on what happened and where we are now. Now, the news now is that there is some closure on that. So for one, you now actually have the car back, because just because the police found the car didn't mean that you actually got possession of it. And you now got wind that there are charges filed against this guy. They got the guy.
They got the guy. All that was in my head when I got this letter in the mail was that Osama bin Laden gif where they're like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him," and that's all I could think about. Right? Was, oh my god, they got this guy that every time I would tell the story to someone, they'd come back and they'd be like, "Oh, well, do you know what happened to the guy? Did they catch the guy? Did they catch the guy?" And all I could say was, "Listen, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to relive this moment. Whatever happens will happen." Well, first of all, about a month after they picked it up, they held on to it in their evidence slot. And so I had to wait about a month, and then they called me, let me go get it. I could tow it back. I had to tow it on my own, got a U-Haul, no help from the police, of course, but I ended up bringing it back so I could kind of see what was damaged on it. It's pretty well damaged on the front left fender and bumper because the guy didn't know how to drive a right-hand drive car, of course. Steering wheel's on the right side of the car. So he had some scrapes there. And then the interior around the steering wheel is absolutely demolished from him tearing things apart to try to hotwire it. So I've got a bit of an uphill battle trying to assess damages, find parts, and get repairs done, right? Because shops don't want to fix a thing like this. They don't know how. Parts aren't readily available. So I've got an uphill battle, but we'll see how that goes.
Right.
And then now it's been, 4 months since then. And then last night, I get a letter in the mail, and this letter is from the district attorney of Colorado of the 4th district, whatever, for El Paso County, and it shows me that that my victim impact information is requested for this case, and it shows me a case and this paper. I have it right here.
It's hot off the press here. This is fresh right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can see, this is straight from the office of the district attorney, right? And it's to me, and it gives the name of the person who took the car, and then it gives a list of charges. And this list of charges are all of the other car theft charges that this person has been charged with, right? So there are 14 total car theft charges here, and then there are some other charges on here for trespassing with an intent to commit. Intent to commit a crime, all these things. So I ended up getting this letter to let me know, and now I know that they've caught him and he's been charged, and now I have to go through and do my victim impact statement where I say how much damage was done, what impact this has had to my life, how much it might cost me to get things fixed, all of that, so that they can adequately sentence him, because he's got hearing and then sentencing coming up at the end of June. So now I know that not only do I have the car back, but the person who took it has been found and is now about to face quite a bit of repercussions for, it looks like 14 counts of first-degree car theft here. So
14.
Pretty crazy.
14 counts of car theft. This wasn't this guy's first rodeo, that's for sure. And the good thing I can say, and being a resident of El Paso County, that's Michael Allen, and he, in terms of he's the district attorney. And Michael Allen has said that he's coming out hard on a lot of crime now. So the fact that they're putting that case together, I think is a step in the right direction. We want to see these car thieves behind bars, because if they're not behind bars, they're going to keep doing it again. And this guy having 14 cases of this, no one's going to say that, this was just a one-off. It was a spur of the moment thing. I mean, this guy's a career criminal with 14, and that's the ones that they know about too.
Exactly. The funny thing is, through that Facebook group, I got connected with a lot of people who either thought they knew who had stolen my car, or who had literally had their car stolen by that same person. The Subaru that was used to smash through the door to get into our garage, the woman who owned that car contacted me, and we exchanged information. So I know for a fact that there were other cars involved, and on Facebook, there were even some people who correctly identified this person. I got a lot of false and incorrect identification, so it was hard to pick it out. But now that I know his name, it turns out I was getting real good information from Facebook, and they were doing a lot more work than it seemed like was happening at the time on the ground from the police.
That is incredible. I mean, it just goes to show the car community, we take care of each other. We all love cars. Maybe we got a little bit of a different taste in cars from one to the other. But man, when stuff like this happens, the car community comes together, helps each other out, helps find stolen cars just like yours. And Tommy, I'm really glad that not only do you have the car back, yes, there's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle fixing it, but it looks like it is fixable. And you've got it back, and now you've got some resolution to this. The guy he's going to be charged. He's going to be hopefully behind bars very soon. And I'm just glad this finally came together for you and you have some closure with this.
Yeah, it's actually, it was more relieving than I expected it to be. I almost thought that if they ever caught him and I was expected to give some sort of impact statement, that I might be overwhelmed, because it's really violating feeling to have that and to kind of relive it. But it does feel like a little bit of relief. And there is a little catharsis in knowing that like something is happening about it. So.
Yeah, I'm glad everything has worked out here. Tommy Bristol, my guest, joining me right here on the Automotive ADHD show. Tommy, thank you so much for coming back onto the show to give everyone this update, really, and provide closure to the listeners, too, who are wondering, hey, whatever happened to that Skyline?
Yeah. And we posted the announcement on the same Facebook group, so you can see it there, too. I appreciate you putting some attention on the story and kind of spreading the word and making sure everybody knows that like the car community really does pitch in when things kind of get tight like this. It's nice.
Awesome, Tommy. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me right here on Automotive ADHD.
Yeah, no problem, man. Have a good one.
He's the nut behind the wheel and behind the mic. This is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
All right, so I told you that Wesley Kagan, he's been on the show before, and he's done something now ill-advisable, questionable, all sorts of things, which is why I've decided to invite him back on the show. Wesley Kagan, my guest, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. And I want to go on record in saying that pretty much all I do is ill-advised. So
all
there's
of
that.
Disclaimer. Absolutely. Right there. At the beginning of this show, at least on the radio, there's a disclaimer. It says opinions are that of the host and do not reflect that of Salem Media, blah, 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 blah. Questionable mechanical advice is included free of charge. That is actually in my disclaimer on this show. So that, like, FCC required, that is in there. So anyway, so Wesley, what you did is twofold. Okay. And by the way, I should introduce you for people who are joining me on the podcast who maybe haven't listened to the episodes with you on the show. You're a YouTuber. You've got 295 trillion subscribers.
Exactly correct.
Yeah. Yep. And
a lot more outer space presence than one might realize, frankly.
Really? I wouldn't have imagined that. But so, and you do automotive content on YouTube, but I say automotive a little more loosely because you're more on the engineering side of things with it.
Sure. I throw stuff at the wall and I see what sticks. Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I don't know why I'm replying like I'm on trial here. Yes, to the best of my knowledge.
Yes,
that's correct.
Yeah, yes. So you do that, and you've had many millions of views on some of your automotive shenanigans and escapades. You built a tube car with a Porsche engine, which now has a V12, as I understand.
Yeah. It's all sitting in a pile slightly out of frame, but yes.
Nice. I love it. ITBs on the V12 too. I'm a sucker for ITBs. Yep. So yeah. Now Wesley.
So am I. I decided to build my own, and nobody should ever do that ever. So I'm right there with you.
That sounds terrible. And now, granted, you are out ITBing me by threefold, because I've got sitting here in the garage studio, the A86 is next to me. You can't quite see it on camera. It's got ITBs on it. It's got 4 of them. You have 12, which does make me feel slightly inadequate, only a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's just the problem with 12 is that you have to buy 12 of them and also install 12 of them and deal with fuel management on 12 of them.
You have to balance 12 of them, don't you?
Oh, don't even. There's an entire saga.
I'm not jealous anymore, actually. I take it back.
No, you shouldn't be. Yeah, no, it's it's terrible. Yeah.
So the latest thing that you've done, which definitely conforms to the disclaimer that runs on the front of this show, on the radio at least, you bought a British car.
I did, yes.
But not just any British car. Why is this one? Why is this one special?
Well, this is the most expensive production car, I should give that disclaimer, production car that you could buy in 1993. And adjusted for inflation, it's like $611,000. But I bought a 1993 Bentley Continental R, which they made very few of, and was at a point in time in which Bentley was being kept alive almost exclusively by the Sultan of Brunei buying weird one-off cars. And my particular example is painted in a custom Rolls-Royce color, ordered into Rolls-Royce of Beverly Hills. And I'm saying all of this to say that I paid significantly less than the original sticker price for this car. And you could go out and buy a very nice certified pre-owned Civic or not certified pre-owned Civic for more than I paid for this particular car.
Okay. So not only did you buy a British car, you bought an old British car. Not only was it an old British car, it's a special, expensive old British car.
Yes. And I should clarify that I've owned, I'm going to say this off the top of my head and I might change it later, 5 British cars. I've owned 2 MGBs, one of which the hood flew open on the drive home, the other which did not have much of a clutch slave cylinder, so you just really had to pump the clutch at the stoplight. I've owned a Jaguar XJS, which became a coffee table, and I owned a 1977 Rolls-Royce that caught on fire on the test drive.
I was just about to say, I remember your Rolls-Royce did catch fire.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I can't say that I have the best luck with British cars. Oh, I owned an E-Type, no, not an E-Type, an F-Type Jaguar for like a year. I daily drove a Jaguar Land Rover product for a year. That one was the one that I had the best luck with. So I was like, this is an example for the rest. And obviously my poor relationship with British cars is over. So here we are.
Okay, and again, give me what was that number brand new? Because while you were talking here, I was pulling up a inflation calculator.
Yeah, so adjusted for inflation, $611,000. I believe it was $275,000 in 1993. And I'm sure there'll be somebody in the comments that'll be like, actually, depending on options, and like,
I'm looking at roughly, it right here, 610. If we assume 275 even. $610,509.52. Which, by the way, is
and it's also important to know that this was ordered into Beverly Hills Rolls-Royce. So for all of the famous people that listen to this radio show, which I know there are many, many famous people that listen.
Actually, it's all of them. That's the only people who listen to my show.
I do, I'm very surprised because it's Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend and your show that pop up under the celebrity category on my Spotify.
And this show is now 8th in automotive in South Korea.
Which, I mean, come on, Joe Rogan, eat your heart out. Is he 8th in Korea? Hell no.
And I don't speak a lick of Korean, but I'm sure they all think I do. Maybe my English is so bad that they actually think I'm speaking Korean. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a decent option. No. So yeah, I bought a British car. It's great in every single way, and I have no notes whatsoever. Believe it or not, everything works perfectly on it.
No, it doesn't.
There's not a single issue.
No, it doesn't. And
it doesn't leak oil. And I'm lying through my teeth right now for all of those because it's looking right at me. This is a hostage situation at a certain point.
What you're saying is it's not like this is not a consensual relationship between you and the car at this point. It's holding you hostage.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's a Stockholm syndrome thing. It absolutely is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As it is, I think with anyone who owns a aging, heavily depreciated British car. Before we talk about what things have been like with it, how much is it worth today?
Okay. Nice examples. Which I want to go on record in saying that I've never bought a nice example of anything, let alone a project car. a nice low mileage example with all of the things taken care of, could be an $80,000 to $90,000 car.
That's
this
optimistic.
one, yeah, this one, has 140,000 miles on it, which is not low mileage in the Bentley world. This has some paint issues. This has a few things that, I actually said this in a video that all of the lights in the dash are on, and I'm not sure whether that's a result of the LCD being broken or if everything on the car is wrong. It is also important to note that the only lights not on the dash are the backlight for the gauges. So driving at night is just really a fun game of guess who.
Okay, so you have to kind of like feel the gauges out by braille, basically, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Lucas Prince of Darkness is really living up to their name at this point in time.
You could go with that. I was gonna say like it's like driving as Stevie Wonder, but I guess you could go there too.
Well, I don't want to get in trouble with the Stevie Wonder estate. That's my own thing. I don't want to, I don't want to invoke litigation in this particular matter, and I.
So the answer, how much is it worth now? Cliffhanger. We got to go to a break. We're going to be right back here on Automotive ADHD.
The finer things in life. Happily, some are affordable, like Grey Poupon Dijon mustard. Grey Poupon is so fine, it's even made with white wine. Its original French Dijon recipe adds distinctive flavor to beef, pork, and poultry, salad dressing and sauces, and of course, sandwiches. So enjoy one of life's finer pleasures.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course.
Grey Poupon. It even has wine.
This is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
All right, so we're continuing some more misguided automotive adventures. I think adventure is even, that's being a little too optimistic here. Of course, you're listening to the Automotive ADHD show. I'm your host, Matt West, and joining me right now is Wesley Kagan. He's a YouTuber. He's a guy who bought, of all things, a British car. He's owned several British cars. And this is if you're just joining us, he bought the most expensive production car in the world from 1993. And Wesley, we left people off with a little bit of a cliffhanger, which is how much is it worth today?
If I could get a drum roll, please.
Oh, we got it.
Okay. About 18 grand, depending on who you ask. This one was about 18 grand.
18 grand.
Plus shipping.
So
Sure.
that means that it went from, I have the inflation calculator here. I have the math.
Yeah.
That means that it went from being adjusted for inflation, 18 grand. You went from $610,000 adjusted for inflation in 2025 dollars, $610,000 to $18,000. That's where we're at right now.
So like roughly 600 grand, which I'm no math talking guy, but isn't that, and with 100,000 miles, isn't that $6 a mile?
Yeah, that's right around
We should
there.
do it. We should double it. I might be missing a zero there, but now that we're talking about it,
No, I think
Is that-
you know what? I mean, here's the thing. What we know is it lost a lot of value.
yeah,
A little. Now, granted,
Yeah.
you're in theory on the positive end of this because you purchased it post depreciation. But that's also
Ideally,
being
yeah.
optimistic because you now own the most heavily depreciated British car in the world, possibly.
and a British car that I think truly the only feasible means of ownership is being able to make content out of it, because nobody in their right mind should should own one of these cars and maintain it. Like it's not easy to maintain. I do all of my own work and I've built things and cars from the ground up. This is an incredibly difficult car to work on because everything is so just particular about it all. And like this car hasn't been in rust. This car hasn't been particularly abused. It's just, it was designed to be worked on by people who don't care about a labor rate. There's an entire section of the electronics in this electrical manual that comes with the workshop manual that is theoretical wiring. I'm not making that up. Go to look in your 6000 series Bentley workshop manual and you'll find a theoretical wiring section. I don't know why I'm doing Doug DeMuro voice at this point in time, but that's how outlandish this actually is.
Theoretical wiring.
Theoretical wiring. Yeah.
Does the wiring exist in theory? Is that the notion here with the British wiring, that in theory, yes, it's wiring?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I think it's more of this wiring could do this if it chooses to. You know, it decides what it would like to.
So what it's really like then, and maybe my science knowledge is not the best, but what you're saying is it's really like a quantum wiring. Like it either does exist or it doesn't exist at the same time.
It exists within a superimposed state dependent on the observation of the particle. Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's really Schrodinger's wiring at a certain point.
Schrodinger's wiring. Okay, so now that's not all that's wrong with British cars as a whole, and certainly not all that's wrong with this one. What have been some of the challenges working on this car already? I mean, you've got the YouTube video up on your channel right now. And of course, I'll give you a plug. Follow Wesley on YouTube at Wesley Kagan. And so you've got the video up there. People can see sort of your first experiences with the car. What's been the challenge so far?
Yeah, well, I mean, the saving grace of all of this is that I'm able to make content with this particular car. Otherwise, again, it really is a lot of work to keep this going. And the first thing, the moment that I pulled it into the garage, I unloaded it off the trailer and pulled it into the garage, is that the rear hydraulic struts, which is tied into the brake system like it is on all of this era of Rolls-Royce and Bentley, decided to leak all over the place and leaves a very nice trail of very expensive mineral oil wherever it goes. So the attempt to fix all of that ultimately ended up in getting QA1 coilovers put on the back of it and me teeing off the line. So the brakes are still a hydraulic, but we're changing that here pretty soon as well because I don't like it. That's it. That's the only reason. It actually, the car stops well right now. There's 2 calipers on the front disc. We don't have, my therapist is already billing a whole lot to unpack why there are 2 calipers on the front of this car, but it is what it is. Just a whole lot of, this car came out in 1993, but everything about it feels like it was built in 1973. It really is quite entertaining because of that.
So, and stepping back to the QA1 coilovers here, can you, are you telling me that you can just go on QA1's website and be like, yes, I would like coilovers for a 1993 Bentley, please, and they'll send you a kit?
Absolutely not.
I figured.
To the point that I machined my own and ended up dealing with some spring rate things and stuff like that, basically replacing the hydraulic assister shocks that existed on this at the moment. No, there's a lot of things that I think on this car that I should not be a curator of this particular car. And I don't think I should be a curator of any cars because I do it in my own Wesley way. And that sometimes results in me using a CNC machine to machine coilovers for the back of a Bentley. So,
Yeah. So you've got this car now. It has coilovers on it. Presumably it does run and drive at this point, right?
It does. It actually runs and drives great. I've actually put quite a bit of miles on this car, and nothing's broken yet out of the stuff that was already broken, which kind of freaks me out every time I drive it. Not gonna lie.
That's terrifying. But actually. Yeah. I think that it's probably because theoretical wiring can't actually catch fire because it's only theoretical.
You know what? I would find some wood to knock on as quickly as possible, because if I burst into flames, I'm contacting you first.
You heard it here first on the Automotive ADHD show on the radio in Southern Colorado and online as a podcast and a video show, whatever you call a video podcast. Now, Wesley Kagan is my guest. And Wesley, what are the plans here for this car? Like, are you going to do a motor swap? Are you going to try to make it more reliable? What are you thinking of doing with it?
Look, I would love to keep this quite beautiful 6.75 liter turbocharged V8. I like it a lot. However, yeah, I'm going to motor swap it just because of who I am as a person, and because of previous 20 minutes that we've been talking about this. It's how it is. I'm looking at a few different things. I mean, the traditional LS swap is a tried and true classic. No matter what, I will say this, I will reveal this. No matter what, it's getting a manual transmission, which, it has to, I mean, this is the sporty, this is the R-trim Continental, regardless that it's 5,800 pounds, it's still sporty, it has to be. At this point, it definitely is getting a manual with a gated shifter. Other than that, I explored a couple of different options, and I'm keeping my options open. Again, LS is tried and true. The W12 that came in later Bentleys, that came in the Continental starting in 04 and just stopped getting used very recently. The Phaetons had them as well in non-twin turbo form. I considered one of those with a supercharger mounted on the top. I also considered the V10 diesel that they put in the Touareg? No, Taycan? Touareg, yeah.
Okay.
The VW Touareg, which everybody, especially, I mean, if you talk to VW techs, they just love that V10 diesel that's in those. This is incredible amounts of sarcasm, by the way. Because
they adore them, in fact.
I'm fascinated with that engine in a way that is probably a little bit unhealthy, because there's no belts on that engine. There's no serpentine belts or front, there's no cam belts, nothing like that. It is entirely, there's no timing chain either, or timing belts. It's all 100% gear driven, including gear driven alternator, gear driven 2-speed water cooled alternators, an entire valve train that's gear driven. It's okay. Honestly, it's fascinating. I love that motor. I do want to build something with it at some point in time.
But at some point, you would probably like this to be at least more reliable than the British engine that's already in it, right?
That's kind of the problem with a lot of the swaps, is that, I'm trying to replace a reasonably reliable engine with notoriously problematic engines. And the other thing on the diesel is that Europe got the V12 version that I think ended up in a Le Mans car at some point in time as well. And for me to not do the V12 would be truly a travesty, which so I have to wait around until a cheap V12 diesel made by Volkswagen comes around, and then the world will be a much better place.
I love it. So if you want to follow along with what Wesley is doing, if you want to see what he's ultimately going to swap into the most expensive car in the world from 1993, I guess you're going to have to follow him on YouTube. Like and subscribe, as they say in Wesley's industry.
Yeah, and follow me on Instagram and wherever your videos are sold.
And hopefully you're not paying anything for this video at least. But hey, Wesley, thank you for joining me here on the Automotive ADHD show. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see what happens with this thing.
I always appreciate coming on. Thanks.
I'm actually getting the popcorn ready because I'm going to watch it I might actually cook the popcorn on the burning husk of it. We'll see. Knock on wood.
Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good strategy. Well, if nothing else, it makes for good content.
And on that, we're out of time here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Automotive ADHD show. Of course, my guest has been Wesley Kagan. Now, if you want to find more of this show, YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Facebook, wherever fine shows and, mine are downloaded. And of course, catch it on the radio every single Saturday morning, Saturday at 9. We're actually on some other times, too. We re-air throughout the weekend now. More automotive content than you actually asked for. So I'm not sorry. We'll catch you next week right here on the Automotive ADHD show.